we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want it until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
The violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber. This is Derek Evans. It's Friday and another glorious day in America's new golden age.
Yes, it is, man. I'm looking forward to the weekend. As always, guys, like, share, subscribe, all those good things. If you're watching live, hop in the comments. I'll read all of them. I'll do my very best to give you guys a shout out. Kind of like this. We already got Dan Dreyer in the Rumble chat, and we've already got Thaddeus over here in the X chat. We really appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we got an awesome show lined up for you guys here today.
Yes, absolutely. We got a lot to discuss. The Democrats continue to wake up every morning and choose not just violence, but choose crazy. And, it continues to get worse. That's really the problem. And a lot of their air quote thought leaders, I'm not sure you can really call them that, are egging them along. We've had this from Jimmy Kimmel testifies Tesla terrorism. Tesla terrorism and spreads false Nazi claims. He's not the only one. Colbert and the rest of these failing late night hosts, they're all saying the same thing. They're cheering it on. They're trying to be sly and subtle and say, I don't condone this, but that's just because our lawyers say we can't. There's no doubt about it. That's exactly what they're doing. They're continuing to encourage more violence. Like the title for today's show says, they're really returning to their roots of racism, violence, oppression, and terrorism.
Absolutely. We got Annie Cyrus in the Rumble chat saying, what? No eye patch today? And then
I'm done being a Cyclops, at least for now.
And then shout out to Karen Dotson as well over here in the X chat. Here's the thing. It's not just them. You got to think ABC and whoever else is airing these shows are sitting there, and they know this is going on, and they're allowing this to happen. This is unbelievable. This is definitely cheering on, promoting domestic terrorism in our country, an attack on probably the most made in America vehicle that exists right now. I'm not a fan of electric vehicles, but they're primarily made here in America, everything possible anyways. And even if there weren't, I don't understand how you could cheer on domestic terrorism. And, I saw a stupid person on X, a stupid liberal who had attempted to make the comment. They shared a picture of, I think it was Kid Rock shooting a case of Bud Light. And it said, oh, you remember you guys thought it was okay to destroy Bud Lights, but now you're upset that, that we're doing this to Teslas. And it's like, no, it was his own Bud Light. If you want to go buy your own Tesla and destroy that as a way to make a statement, be my guest. It's your property. If you want to spend that money to go do that, to make a video, by all means, go ahead and do so. But you can't destroy other people's property. And so had Kid Rock or any conservatives went around and started ripping Bud Lights out of other people's hands and destroying it, that would have been an issue. But that's not what happened. So it's an apples to oranges comparison here. And but that's how they're twisting this in their head. You can't destroy other people's property, period, end of discussion. And I would argue that with the charging stations, there are enough vehicles now that are electric vehicles that should be considered critical infrastructure of the United States of America at this point. And this is definitely terrorism that they're doing. And breaking, or somewhat breaking, this morning, President Trump put out a post and said that he's looking forward to seeing these Tesla terrorists spend 20 years in jail, and suggested that maybe they should be sent to the prison in El Salvador. That would be glorious.
Oh,
He did. He posted that.
Yeah, I saw the post. I just didn't catch that last line. Oh, that'd be perfect. Yeah, they'll really learn a lesson down there. They can hang out with their buddies in MS-13 and Tren de Agua. They're already sympathetic, so I'm sure they'll be treated well in that prison. And I do like how it works there too, where it's like yearly renewal. They're just there indefinitely. So I think that's a perfect place to put them. And it's warm tropical weather. They can learn about the culture of another nation. But going back to what you said earlier, I think the leftists have no concept of personal property until somebody tries to take something they own. Otherwise, they think it's all just state property. It doesn't matter if it's someone else's Tesla or not. They think their right to protest and destroy things is greater than your right to own the vehicle. But the late night, these failing late night talk show hosts aren't the only leftists out there running their mouth right now. Bill Burr's had brainworms for a while. Unhinged comic Bill Burr goes on The View and calls Elon Musk a nerd who's going to trash the planet. And again, he's not the only washed out leftist doing this. Notorious leftist actor John Cusack was part of the Tesla takedown online event and said Elon Musk is literally killing people. I'd like to see his evidence for that, and I'd like to know who Elon Musk has literally killed. You got any idea on this one? Who has Elon Musk killed so far, Derek?
Well, nobody that I know of, but to be honest with you, I have no clue who this Cusack person is. I don't know this person. I know who Bill Burr is. He's a loser as well. He's a bald-headed dweeb over here, and he's talking about Elon Musk. And he also, in that same thing, had made a comment of Elon Musk doesn't know how to talk to hot women. It's like, dude, are we in 6th grade right now? Like, this guy doesn't know how to talk to girls. Like, it's just crazy.
Has he not seen some of Elon's baby mamas?
That's what I was thinking. He's got a lot of them. So it's like, he's doing something there. I don't know exactly. Maybe it's just the money. I don't know, but he's definitely doing better than Bill Burr ever thought about. Dude, he could probably go, I don't know if Bill Burr is married or not, but Elon could go buy his wife if he wanted to. Elon could go just purchase her and take her if he really wanted to do so.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure Bill Burr's wife is the one that flipped off Trump at one of the UFC fights. I'm about 99% sure. Maybe somebody in our audience knows. They can post it in the comments. But I'm about 99% sure it was Bill Burr's wife. And I think this was right after the first attempted assassination. That when he went to the UFC fight afterwards, where he still had the bandage on the ear, where even a lot of prominent liberals that were in the audience were clapping for him because again, this was right after the assassination attempt. I'm pretty sure that's when Bill Burr's wife was in the crowd there and flipped him off. But yeah, I mean, they're just losing their minds. It's all of them. They're either moving to Ireland or other countries or whatever. And again, Ireland, we're sorry about that. There's nothing we can do about it. And she's your problem to deal with now, though. Well, we don't want her back.
Absolutely.
But again, it's par for the course. And I'm not sure if these people, a lot of them are probably fleeing because their names are on the Diddy list or the Epstein list. And at some point, I've not given up hope there. I do think we're going to see at least something on those that, Trump made a statement over was it last weekend or the weekend before? I think it was last weekend, that in a few more weeks, we'll actually see something off of that. And again, it does take time to go through these documents, but what we better see isn't just a release. I really just want to see prosecutions more than anything else.
That's where I'm at. I'm sick of the strongly worded letters. I'm sick of the tough talk in the interviews. I'm sick of all these things, like either start making arrests or sit down and shut up and just let them just go ahead and destroy our country, because that's where we're at right now. Especially these mayors and governors who are out here doubling down right now, saying, "Oh, we're going to continue being sanctuary." So go arrest them, and if not, then I don't want to hear another interview about what you might do to them. That's really where I'm at with all that. I think that's what's making me frustrated is that, they love getting on these interviews and talking these big talk. It's like, well, shut up and go arrest them if you want to do so. But shout out to FG over here in the Getter chat. And then we got Chris 29 in the X American News X chat. And then we've got Jen over here in the new to the X chat on my feed. And then Thaddeus brought up a really good comment, I believe, about this. Thaddeus says, in the X chat, Elon needs to sue these semi-celebrities for defamation, and he
Yeah.
should. And if nothing else, use this legal lawfare against them and bankrupt them along the way, because he could afford to do so just because he felt like it.
Yeah. I mean, again, they're not going to stop till they feel pain. That's the best way to do it. They don't hesitate to do that same kind of thing back to us. So it's time to let them know this is no longer acceptable and there's going to be consequences for your action. Breaking news. DOJ charges 3 in connection with domestic terrorism attacks targeting Tesla. They're also going to be cracking down on the these other terrorists calling in swatting various conservatives. We've had even more of those. I think we're up to 24 or 25 now that have been swatted, because some of them aren't making as much news as others. But, I noticed something about these 3 that were arrested. Looks like 2 of them are mentally ill men pretending to be women. Maybe there's a pattern here.
Oh, I mean, there's definitely a pattern going on here. I mean, we have the transgender shooters, we have these transgenders doing this, and I would argue that, and I'm sure that one of those 3 will start singing at some point. I hope that, I'm sure that they are. I would imagine there's actually, we know that there's groups out there around this, but I wonder how deep these groups go in terms of organizing and cheering on people who are doing these sorts of attacks. And the reason I say that is, as we all learned through following the January 6th trials and such, is when you have 3 or more people in a group chat even discussing the thought of doing something, that is now considered conspiracy. And oftentimes conspiracy brings a longer prison sentence than the actual crime itself of doing it. This thinking about and planning it sometimes brings more charges. So in addition to whatever else, they could turn around and supersede and indict them and hit them with conspiracy charges as well, which would be probably another 20 years on top of it. And I'm sorry, but there has to be an example made out of these people. This is not some high school kid who thrown an egg at somebody and wasn't expecting it to hit him in the head and hurt somebody, or you know what I mean. It's not a situation like that. These people knowingly went there for one purpose and one purpose only, and that was to destroy these dealerships. And it was premeditated, and it was all politically motivated, and is the literal definition of domestic terrorism. And they need to be made examples out of, and to prevent other people from doing it as well.
Oh yeah, and like a high school kid, throwing eggs or toilet paper, whatever. That's not the same. I mean, that's, if you're going to charge them with a crime, maybe vandalism, maybe destruction of property if they actually damage something. But, this is literal terrorism. They're shooting cars at dealerships. They're setting them on fire. There's a website now where there's a privately owned Teslas, and people are going out and damaging or destroying those, trying to key in swastikas and other things. And again, they should all be prosecuted, all of them that can, and it should be the full terrorism charges. I don't think we should back down on this in any way whatsoever. We've got to send a message that people have to pay for it. And again, a lot of this is rich white liberals that are out there doing all this stuff, and mentally ill men. It's being organized and orchestrated. The organizations that are funding this that have the thinly veiled threats, again, they need to be criminally prosecuted as well. I like the idea of conspiracy charges. We need to dismantle the left-wing terrorism apparatus from the ground up. These people should be afraid to harm others because they know that there will be consequences for their actions. The left's, when the left doesn't get their way, when people don't go along with the policy and the delusions that they want, they always turn to violence. This is what we saw during the BLM riots. I mean, we go all the way back to the 1960s. When the left doesn't get what they want, they lash out, they hurt people, they destroy things, they hold the world around them hostage while they throw their little temper tantrum. And then, unfortunately, a lot of times we cave and we give them what they want. So nobody ever learns a lesson, except they learn, hey, if we harm enough people, we can get what we want. These people will just back down. And here's another example of that, of where, again, this is leftists cheering this on. I get that there's some people outside the left that were cheering on Luigi Mangione, but arson suspected at home of Bear exec's New Jersey home. This is poorly written headline, so do better over there, post-millennial. 3 months after United Healthcare CEO assassination. So Again, they suspect this is another targeted attack on a CEO from a pharmaceutical or healthcare company. The left has again been encouraging this because if they can't get what they want, they have no problem resorting to violence. And I don't know anything about this Bayer exec. I'm not exactly a big fan of Bayer or Monsanto, but I don't think solving the problems are you don't do that by burning down people's houses.
Yeah, and the other thing about the Tesla attackers, it's sad the way that they're targeting individuals. Like I saw a video yesterday that a mother had put out. Her 3-year-old child was in the passenger seat. Some lunatic pulls up beside of them at the red light and is cussing them out and flipping them off, all because they're in a Tesla. Nothing else happened, and you're going to sit here and do that to a child. I mean, that is next level, just psycho. At the end of the day, that's the only way you can explain it. The other funny thing to me about this is these people truly have no clue just how technologically advanced the Teslas are. And the reason I say that is they obviously don't know that the Teslas have cameras recording, because every one they come up, they look around, like they're making sure they're all alone. Nobody's going to see them. And there's no video cameras. Like they're looking for all that everywhere except for the car itself. They don't check that. And then they go commit the crime. And then they get plastered all over the internet for doing so. And then I wanted to give a quick shout out to Sean over here in the Getter chat as well.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I mean, these people really aren't thinking, but they also are used to not having consequences, or the consequences they do get are minimal, maybe a little fine, slap on the wrist or whatever. And I think some of them were expecting the DOJ to continue that going forward, because, we don't want to become tyrants like they were to the J6 defendants. But when things have escalated to this level where terrorism charges are appropriate, different story, different game. This isn't people, protesting and, blocking people at the Trump Tower. People like that, they weren't destroying property there. They weren't harming people directly. But these are targeted attacks, and they are orchestrated attacks. So I do think the conspiracy charges are in order, that we need to bring down the infrastructure to ensure this kind of thing cannot happen again. Again, it doesn't end there, though. Like we keep saying, the left cannot get away from their roots of terrorism, discrimination, racism, and let's not forget, they like to talk about the Ku Klux Klan all the time, but that was spawned out of the Democrat Party. It was literally the terrorist wing of the Democrat Party following the Civil War. And this is the behavior we've seen out of the left since their inception. And it is not going to change.
Well, I got a question. Hold on. I got one more question to wrap this up. First of all, I don't know if FG, if I gave you a shout out earlier or not. I apologize if I didn't. So shout out to FG in the Getter chat. But I got a question. At what point do we start holding the Democrat elected officials accountable for this? Because they're the very ones who's standing up and encouraging this. Not a single Democrat politician that I've seen has come out and condemned these attacks against Tesla, which that's fine. That's not a crime to not condemn something, to just keep your mouth shut. That's not a crime. But what about all these times, and they're still doing it, where they're saying, get out, get in their face, get in the streets, burn this place down, and attack these people? I mean, at what point are they going to be charged with inciting this violence? Because that's exactly what they're doing. And I'm not making any excuses for dumb adults who are out here, doing these things. They should definitely face the consequences of doing so. But you do have to wonder how many of them would have done that on their own without an elected official that they're looking up to telling them to do these exact things. So I think that, there at least has to be a conversation being had right now of do we bring charges? I say yes, but I mean, do we bring charges against these elected Democrats who are not only, I wouldn't even say they're cheering it on, they're actually encouraging this to happen. And I think that is something that needs to be looked into, and I think they should be charged for it.
Yeah, I agree. If they're going to encourage and incite violence, they should have to pay the same consequences anybody else in the street would. Or again, these are the kind of tactics they use to increase the potential jail time for J6 defendants. So let them get a taste of their own medicine. At the very least, they should be getting censured or removed from Congress for this type of thing. It's behavior that should be unacceptable among our elected representatives. We got one more example to get here too. Of, the left's just continuous inconsistencies. Sacramento Gay Bar bans all MAGA-related attire to help patrons feel safe and respected. I'm not surprised, but again, something we see over and over again. We also just had that example of the bartender, and I want to say it was Indiana, that threatened a woman in a Trump hat with a baseball bat. So again, they're completely unhinged. They've lost their minds. They're always this close to attacking or assaulting somebody. I mean, these people are a real danger, a menace to society. They can't function with other humans who disagree with them about certain things, about ideas of policy. Instead, they always resort to violence. These people really are a danger to our society.
Well, I will first state that my personal beliefs are that any private business owner should have the rights to deny business and service to anybody that they choose for any reason. They don't have to give a reason. I think that as a private business owner, you should be allowed to do that, and then the free market will take care of itself. And so in this situation, obviously nobody who supports Trump is going to want to go there. But I say all that to say, when the Christian baker said, "I'm not going to bake a cake," they had somebody go out of their way just to go over there and do that to get denied so they could sue them. I almost want a Trump supporter to wear some gear and attempt to enter that bar just to be denied so they can turn around and sue those people. Now, the catch-22 I'm in there is I actually support their freedom to do what they're doing. I think that they actually have the freedom to do that, but it's kind of one of those tit for tat sort of situations here, and I almost want somebody to do that just to prove a point, because I promise you, if I was a business owner and owned a restaurant or a bar or whatever, and I said that nobody could wear any sort of Democrat apparel, nobody could wear a Joe Biden hat or whatever in there, I would be sued within days. ACLU and everybody else would be all over this. They would be suing you for it, and so it's like one of those things you almost want to give them a taste of their own medicine, even though it goes against what I believe in.
Oh, we should, because again, if they're going to play by those rules, play that game, then we need to play it too until they stop. It's the only way they're going to learn a lesson is when they feel enough pain that and that they feel it no longer gives them any kind of forward momentum. Guys, we got to take a quick break here from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with more.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Thank you for staying with us, and you too can support both our program and Mike Lindell by going to mypillow.com or mystore.com and using code INSURRECTION to get the deepest deals on all their products, majority of which are made here in America. If you go to mystore.com, that is a good way to help support American businesses, buy American products, and fight back against China and the big box stores. Again, there's some wonderful items over there, and like I said numerous times, I'm a giant fan of the my slippers, the moccasins or whatever they're called. Those are amazing, especially if you got to get up in the middle of the night and it's cold. You don't want your little toes to freeze.
That's hilarious. I was laughing right before we went to break because Thaddeus said, "I don't think there's a lot of conservatives in gay bars," and that's a true statement. I thought it was funny. And I want to give a shout out to November Girl over here as well in the X chat, who says, "History is repeating itself. These people are gearing up to do what they did in 2016." And I think there's a lot of people wondering that right now. Are we going to, see the summer of love all over again? The difference, though, is, and I know that was more 2019, but in general, but the difference is Trump will not be up for re-election. I think Trump has learned a lot. I think if they start attempting to burn down cities again, he won't care what the mayors or the governors or anything say. He's going to send in the military, the National Guard, whoever, and that junk is not going to be allowed to rear its ugly head again under a Trump administration. I would be shocked if that were the case.
Yeah, and again, I think if you have, we got to start treating rioters as terrorists. If they're going to riot and burn down the city, give them all terrorism charges, strip away their right to vote, put them in jail for 20 years, and that'll ensure we won't get another summer of love next year. Because otherwise, I think it is going to continue for these next 4 years. Sorry, I thought you said something.
Nope, did not, but I agree with you.
Well, I guess the voices are back. All right. Again, hat tip to O'Keefe Media Group. Man, they really are always out there doing the Lord's work, doing undercover journalism, the work the mainstream media refuses to do. MGM Casino marketing director caught on hidden camera. I'm not going to hire whites. So again, we see this discrimination. It's just in the blood of Democrat voters. It's just the target of their aggression changes from time to time, depending on how they think they can exploit that and gain the most power.
Oh, it's absolutely unbelievable. Could you imagine if a white business owner said that I was not going to hire anybody other than white people? The outrage that you would have from this, but for some reason, when it's targeting white people, it's perfectly acceptable. It's cheered on. The Democrats would defend this. It's unbelievable. But once again, back to what I said earlier, I truly believe that as a private business owner, if that's what he wants to do, then he should have the right to do that. I really do. But that's not, unfortunately, that's not how things are set up in this country right now. And so you can't do that. You can't single somebody out like that and say, I'm not hiring you simply because you are a white person or because you're a black person or you're Hispanic or whatever. You can't do that. And the O'Keefe Media Group has been absolutely incredible with all the things that they've been uncovering. I can't believe that these losers, like you pull up the picture of that guy again. I mean, like, how do these losers continue? Like, how does this guy how does he think that some random pretty girl is just all of a sudden hitting him up online somewhere to go grab lunch and everything, and then throughout that just starts asking these random questions about his work? It's like, how have you guys not learned by now that you're getting had by the O'Keefe Media Group? It's fascinating.
Yeah, here he is on his first date, and he's just going to go through all the illegal activity and crimes he's committed. Or like we saw with a lot of these government employees, here's the laws I'm breaking. Here's the espionage and other things I'm doing. Here's how I'm stacking the deck against conservatives or polluting the legal system. But they think that's impressive. And again, they don't think there's going to be repercussions. That's the thing. And that's why we need to start really seeing some arrests, especially with some of these people that have clearly broken laws within the federal government, some of these bureaucrats that have been there. And it's time to start really seeing some justice. And again, once we start bringing them in, they're going to start talking. They're not going to keep their mouths shut. So we're going to find the source of the problem. It won't take long at all. It won't take too many arrests. But yeah, we've got even more wackos over here to discuss. Kennedy Center fires contractor after he posts video of himself protesting Trump completely nude. So again, these are the kind of psychotic people that make up the Democrat Party today, are just these Looney Tune perverts filled with hatred, filled with racism and animosity, and mental disorders. But again, I think this is all getting exposed right now. That's part of why their approval ratings cratered and why more and more people in record numbers are leaving the Democrat Party. Like, that's another story that hasn't gotten enough attention. I think we've mentioned it once, but you have more and more voters too leaving the DNC since the election and becoming Republicans. We've talked about numerous times that we don't want to dilute the Republican Party by adopting someone whose positions are all insane, except, they don't want to trans their kids. But, we are seeing the center move clearly to the right. And I think the Democrats, they're not going to change. They're going to be cooked in 2026.
I would actually argue that I don't think the center has really moved that much. I think the left just went so far to the left that people who even 5 years ago who were center left are now center right, and they never changed. They never moved. Like, they're the exact same person, exact same views, but the left went so far left so quick that in the last 5 years they looked up and they're like, I'm on the center right now, and they never really changed their views. It's just that they went so far extreme to one side. And this was why it was also important, that the Trump administration took over the Kennedy Center board the way that they did, and to put these nut jobs out there. I would also say that he wasn't completely nude. He did have a necklace on. It appeared there in that photo.
Oh, my mistake. I forgot about that.
fact checkers. I just want to get that out there so either the
Yeah.
fact checkers don't come after us. But
Yes, true.
Rick Grinnell was like, we're not putting up with this stuff here, and we shouldn't be. And once again, so much of our tax dollars have been used over the years to even if it was indirectly fund these people such as this guy has a contract and with the Kennedy Center, which is funded by tax dollars. So our tax dollars are paying this guy, and he's out here doing these things. And it's crazy to me how bold they are, how comfortable they are with all the things that they're doing. The fact that he would strip down and film a video and think that there would be no repercussions from that. I mean, he was probably shocked when he found out that he lost his contract. He probably could not believe, and he's probably sitting there thinking that the audacity of the Trump administration to fire me from working for them for protesting against them. That's where these people are at. But it just goes to show you how long they've been doing this, how long they've been getting away with it, for them to be this comfortable doing it. And there's going to be a lot of these people getting some whiplash when they are getting a taste of reality for the first time, possibly ever in their entire lives.
Now, again, these are people, they think this is normal to go out there and protest naked or sing their little oppression hymns, but it's just not connecting with people, and I think you're sort of right with, like, the center really hasn't moved, but I do think that a lot of them are getting red pilled now that they're realizing, like, their positions haven't changed, that their eyes are getting opened on other issues. So maybe they started off center left and are now found themselves center right, but I do think they're getting driven further and further to the right, especially if you're watching this just absolute madness from the left, the violence and everything else. They don't want to be part of that. And I think that just due to the messaging too, that people are learning a lot of new things. Like I've had a few people come up that were, we'll call them like reluctant Trump voters in the last election, that are now like totally on board, either because of what they've seen or things that they've learned now that more facts have come out, that things have been exposed, the money laundering through Doge and funding all this just lunacy here and around the globe. I think we are having a permanent impact, and that's why I'm getting more and more confident about 2026. And we also have this. Another reason I'm more confident is are these judges, because again, this is not resonating with the American people. You have Democrats posing as journalists in the media, and then their allies on the left. Those are the only people cheering along these lunatic judges. Judge Boasberg accuses DOJ of evading its obligations, makes new insane demands in Alien Enemies Act case. Trump responds. Again, their argument, this is a 200-year law. Why are we enforcing it? It's not like that was the last time it was enforced. It's been used during World War II in the 1950s. It's been used numerous times, and it was created for a reason. And let's face it, we are under wartime conditions since Biden allowed an invasion into our country for 4 years, 30 million people. And so this act is wholly appropriate. It's time to clean up our country, to drain the swamp, and to restore our nation to the hands of the American people, and bump out all these little enclaves of foreign nationals that were economic migrants that are here invading our country, robbing us of our resources, destroying our welfare system, FEMA, and everything else. So, this judge is way out of line, and unfortunately, we're going to talk more about that here in a minute.
Yeah, and if anybody missed it, I'll try to find it. Maybe we can share the video on Monday or whatever of Stephen Miller. Honestly, I didn't know a lot about this guy. He is excellent. I love listening to him, the way he explains things. He does a perfect job of it, but he gives a really good explanation about how, there's no way that a little tiny a judge over a little tiny small district, unelected, by the way, should have the authority to do all the things that they are attempting to do right now. And it's 100% true in that regard. I'll be honest with you. I would say it's at least worth having a conversation. I'm not going to say for sure, but like, I almost wonder if we're in the early stages of a civil war in our country. Honestly, that's kind of how it feels to me, and I don't think most people have realized that or accepted that or even thought about that. But that's kind of where we're at right now, is the early stages of a civil war. Right now, the Democrats are just doing guerrilla warfare, if you will, against us. It's not, full blown military yet. But I don't put anything past these people when it comes to any of these things. And as far as these judges go, they got to be put in their place. We're headed towards a constitutional crisis, a fork in the road, if you will. And there's going to have to definitely be some things that are some measures that are taken to clean this up moving forward, because I truly believe that we're going to get a Vance or whoever presidency in 2028. So I think we're going to get potentially 12 years here to do this, because you mentioned it earlier, that a lot of these people are getting red pilled right now. And I think you're 100% correct with that. A lot of these people who were center left, who never moved, left went super far, and now they're finding themselves center right. But at the same time, they're being attacked by those on the left for disagreeing with them on one little issue. And so I think that these people are starting to wake up a little bit, and I do think it's going to have some permanent impact. Also, I saw a poll. I can't remember who conducted the poll. I'll try to find that information. But there was a poll that came out within the last week, and basically they said, now knowing what you know now, who would you vote for in the 2024 election, President Trump or Kamala Harris? And it was like 60-something% to 30-some% or whatever, was like supporting Trump. So basically, there's a lot of people out there who did not vote for Trump in this last election, who have seen all the things he's doing in terms of cleaning up the border and taking men out of women's sports and just bringing common sense back to our country, who have said, man, if I had to do it all over again, I would vote for President Trump. And I think that specific poll speaks volumes to the point you were making about we're leaving some permanent impact, and there's a lot of people who are being woken up and red-pilled throughout this whole process.
Yeah, and I saw those numbers are really just huge with Gen Z and what they're calling Gen Alpha now lurching to the right. And so I think the Democrats are in for a real mess in 2026 and 2028. So let's hope these people, these 60% that now say they would have voted for Trump had they known what they know now, let's hope that sticks and they remember that going into 2026, because it isn't just the Democrats that we need to beat in these coming elections. We need to clean out the rest of the rhinos in there. We need to get a real America First movement firmly embedded within the Republican Party. And then, you know what? I think with the collapse of the Democrat Party, it's time for the Libertarians to step up, maybe take some seats, especially in some of these weak districts. I've heard Angela McGirdle and others talk about this, maybe targeting specific districts in California and other places where they think they could pick up some seats. I think it's time for that. It's time to throw the Democrat Party in the dustbin of history along with the Whigs and the others. Let's go ahead and pull our next headline, because I do want to get through as much of this as we can today. Obama judge says Doge worker cannot serve in leadership position at USAID. So now this judge thinks he can make employment decisions for the executive branch. And technically, this Doge employee stepped down from Doge before accepting the role at USAID. So I don't know what this guy's talking about. I mean, this guy was a private citizen. He was brought in for his management and leadership skills. How can this judge, just assume loyalties like that?
Well, Thaddeus says it perfect over here. It says in the X chat, says Trump needs to ignore these judges and fight it out in the Supreme Court later. And I don't even know about fighting it out in the Supreme Court. I say stick your middle finger up and do whatever it is that you want to do. You've been given the mandate by the American people, and we're going to protect you and stand with you on that. This specific story right here that you just brought up, to me, drives home the point of where these judges are at mentally more than any other story. And the reason I say that is they truly believe that they have more power and say so than the sitting president of the United States of America. So the same judge first said, you are not allowed to close USAID. And basically, we covered it the other day on the show, is saying that they have to relaunder the money that they stole from the American people. That's what the judge is ordering. The judge is ordering that they relaunder the money that they had said that they were, going to save the American people. So then Elon Musk and President Trump, they're playing chess over here, and they said, that's fine. If we have to reinstate USAID, then fine, we will. And then they appoint, as you pointed out there, a former Doge employee, because he stepped down, into that position. And now the judge has the audacity to say you are not allowed to hire that person for that. Has this ever happened? Has a judge ever told a sitting president that they could not appoint someone or hire someone to a position? I've never heard of this. I've never I'm sure there might be some crazy case somewhere. I don't know, but I've never heard of a judge. I've heard a lot of senators say, I'm not appointing that person because that's the process and they're allowed to do that. That's totally different. But I've never heard of a judge stepping in and saying that they were unable to hire someone for a certain position. And you got to remember, they hire tens of thousands of people every administration. This isn't like, so this has happened a lot, and I've never heard of this. And that, to me, it just really drives home the point that this culture of the mentality of the judges as a whole, and they're all in this together. This is a major issue. It's not even the things that they're doing; it's that they have been brainwashed into believing that they have this sort of power. That is the scary part to me, because if they're going to say this, I don't put anything past them at this point.
Yeah, well, I think this staffer clearly needs to sue this judge for discrimination, interfering with his employment, and whatever else they can come up with. And then, maybe we need an ethics investigation into this judge as well, for, clearly discriminating against this private citizen who stepped down from Doge to be appointed for a position at USAID. I mean, clearly this judge has it out for that individual. That's unbecoming of a judge. And I think there appears to be a problem with his morality and his character. So maybe we can use that as a tool to get him off the bench. They want to play dirty. We can play dirty too. And it's time to fight this fight to win and pull their pieces off the board whenever humanly possible. Doesn't matter the consequences. We do have a victory, though, too, for Doge. So judge allows Doge to dismantle the U.S. Institute of Peace and fire staff. Again, I don't know why we need to fund these leftist programs constantly and embed them within government. So good. Let's save the money, get rid of it. President Trump is now the Institute of Peace. He's the only one going around trying to solve these conflicts around the world. We're going to get to more of that later. I mean, I honestly think we'd have peace in Ukraine right now if it weren't for Zelensky trying to sabotage everything that happens over there, or agreeing to things and then backing out at the last minute. Clearly he's still a tool of, I don't know if it's the Eurocrats, the deep state, or, maybe Zelensky's just a warmonger and wants to see his country completely obliterated. Who knows? I guess only time will tell.
Well, that headline really drives home the point once again. It starts off with a judge allows. And these judges really believe that in the fact that, I mean, if you allow something, that means that you have the power to deny something, and therefore they're asking your permission. I'm sorry, President Trump never asked one of these judges for permission to close that down, nor should he. And Dan Dreyer brings it up really well over here in the Rumble chat. We are at war, and Trump is the commander in chief. At what point? I mean, can a judge say, no, you're not allowed to send troops to this foreign country, or you have to send troops to this foreign country, or no, you're not allowed to take out the leader of ISIS, or you're not allowed to do this, or you have to take this person out? I mean, literally, I mean, that's where we're headed right now. If a judge can do the things that they're claiming they can do, then they should be able to do that as well. And obviously they can't do any of these things, but that's where we're at right now. And that's why it's so dangerous. I mean, at what point do we find ourselves in a situation, hopefully never, but that we find ourselves in a situation where we are in a major act of war, and the commander in chief, whether that's President Trump or somebody else, that the precedent that is set today will be carried on moving forward. So I hope that people are, even those who don't like President Trump, would look at this from the point of precedence, and who knows who's going to be the president in 2040, for instance. And what if we're at war and the judge says you're not allowed to attack this person, even though Congress has approved or whatever? What if a judge says you're not allowed to, send these ships over there to this area as a deterrence? I mean, this is crazy. This is where we're at. And this is probably the biggest issue facing the future of our country right now, are these activist judges that need to be put back in their place.
Yeah. Well, first of all, in 2040, it's probably going to be Don Jr. as president after, I guess it'll be a second
Erin.
term of JD Vance, and then Don Jr. We'll see. But, the President Trump wants to enact the will of the American people, where these judges want to what's the right word? These judges, what they want to do is push the will of the Democrat Party onto the American people. Trump is in line with the people, whereas these judges are aligned with their leftist overlords. Guys, we got to take one more quick break, hear from our sponsor, and we'll be right back with even more.
Well, hello everybody, it's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure for this, I hope I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
Thank you for staying with us. And again, the best way to support the insurrection, all the programs here on Ex America News, is by supporting our sponsors. If not for all the work that Annie does behind the scenes, we wouldn't be able to bring you most of the programs we have over here. So it's a unique opportunity to go to lutfstudios.com, buy a piece of her handmade art. It'll be one of a kind. It'll be a treasured family heirloom you can pass down to future generations. Well, we got a little more to get into with these judges before we move on. Revealed, Chief Justice John Roberts caught in secretive invite-only club of elite judges and lawyers that include James Boasberg, one of our favorite judges, Burl Howell, Amit Mehta, and Ketanji Brown Jackson. And that's just to name a few. And of course, they're primarily leftist, left-leaning Democrat operatives masquerading as judges. The usual filth, the hive of scum and villainy. And we talk all the time about these, ruled by secret societies or clubs behind the scenes. And that's exactly what we see here. And again, they're forcing what their will on the American people, while Trump is trying to enact the American people's will against their little cabals within the government.
I don't know the answer to the question I'm getting ready to ask. I should know it, but I don't. I know that Supreme Court justices get lifetime appointments, but I mean, they're not immune from any laws that they break, I would imagine. I would imagine they could still be prosecuted if they went out and, I don't know, shot somebody or something. I'm not saying I want them to do that. I would imagine. So say all that to say, inside this group like this, I believe that the FBI, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, people we can trust, Pam Bondi, they should go and investigate this little group for any sort of conspiracy charges that they may have committed along the way. Because once again, when you have this many people together and they're talking about all these things, that is conspiracy. And so they should be investigating that. And even if there's nothing there, they should investigate it to make sure there's nothing there, number one, but send a little love tap to these judges, let them know that, hey, you're not immune from any laws that you may have broken. I think that I think that's the sort of message that needs to be sent to these judges right now. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, especially if this is a coordinated effort, as it appears to be. But this is also an opportunity. Even if we can't find evidence of any laws broken by this private club, this invite-only club of DC elites. Well, you know what? This is grounds for recusal for Chief Justice Roberts and Ketanji Brown Jackson, at the very least, when these cases that Trump will surely have to bring to the Supreme Court against these judges are there. So that removes two essential a leftist and a somebody that sides with the leftists. So that increases Trump's odds of a affirmative victory. If Ketanji Brown Jackson and Roberts both have to recuse themselves off those cases, it's going to be a lot easier for Trump to get a victory. So I think this is just another gift that they've handed the Trump administration. It's another unforced error from the Democrats as they continue to make these.
That's a good point too. I mean, if they even did an investigation into this and see that there was something there that the judge should have recused themselves and they did not, then I would argue that their ruling is null and void. I mean, you would think anyways, or they should be removed from the bench for violating that, if you will. I do want to give a quick shout out to Stacy over here in the X chat. Good morning, Stacy. Appreciate you for tuning in. And then Dan Dreyer over here, he's like earlier, he said no judge blocked the terrorists from invading our country, and no judge blocked them from leaving. And it is funny, like all of these judges, think about how many judges across the country, and not a single one tried to step in and prevent Joe Biden and the Democrats from destroying our country, with helping these people invade our country. None of these judges stepped in to try to prevent any of the things that Joe Biden was doing to our country, which was completely destroying it. Well, they did step in, and they did rule he couldn't give away student loans, I guess. That was about it. But other than that was it. And so they just let him do whatever they want. And now, I mean, President Trump has already had like 60-some injunctions filed against him, and these judges are ruling in that favor.
I think it's 120 something.
It's insane. I mean, like the next closest is like 11. Like there's no other president in history it's even like remotely close to what he's going through right now. And I think that once again, when we all talked about draining the swamp and all of that, I don't think, at least I didn't. I did not fully understand how involved in the swamp the judges were. I mean, I knew the unelected bureaucrats, the three-letter agencies, all these unelected bureaucrats who are creating law unconstitutionally and doing all these things. I knew that the lobbyists within there, and then the snakes that's been elected to different positions. I guess there was so much on the surface to look at in terms of focusing on draining the swamp, that I don't think that any of us really thought too much about the judges. And in all actuality, this judge situation is worse than anything that we had planned for moving in. It's almost like they had one of those things that they got the unelected bureaucrats, they've got the elected losers in there. All of these are kind of out here in the front saying, look at me, and keep everybody focused here, where the judges this entire time have been behind the scenes with nobody paying attention and have been doing all these things. That's what I'm piecing together here as we move forward in this second Trump administration.
Well, here's another thing that I would like to see the DOJ start doing is these lower court, inferior court judges that are filing all these injunctions and getting in the way of the Trump administration. We know that many of them, either they themselves or their spouse, have a connection to one group or another, receiving funding through USAID or other government entities. They sit on the boards of these NGOs and other charities, and financially benefited from the corruption in DC. So I think, if we, it may be difficult to get them impeached. It'll be almost impossible to get it through the Senate because we need 8 or 9 Democrats to go along with it. Otherwise, they'll just filibuster it. But the DOJ could look at potential ethics violations for them receiving government money and then ruling in those same cases that affect them or their household financially. So again, if this were reversed, we know the Democrats would pursue this. They pursued every avenue possible against President Trump. They even invented new avenues, made things up, fabricated new laws, decided things like statute of limitations doesn't apply to the president. They just made nonsense rulings because it was convenient and they needed the lawfare against President Trump, or they knew they'd have no chance going forward. But yeah, I think this is a gift we need to take advantage of. The DOJ should get on top of this immediately. And again, I think forcing some of these Supreme Court justices, they're involved in this private club, influencing things behind the scenes. Recusals against all Trump cases going forward is just a gift that is so amazing. We couldn't have asked for anything better, because that essentially ensures a Trump victory, and that Roberts and the other cronies won't be able to interfere with Trump's ability to enact what he was elected for. But we got more to this. This is always been the plot. Chuck Schumer says the quiet part out loud. We did put 235 progressive judges on the bench, and they're ruling against Trump time after time after time. So what Schumer's really saying there is, we have our activists in black robes right now, and they're going to do whatever they can. They're going to invent new things, rule on their opinion, and they're going to be there to not to enforce the law, interpret law, and determine a case. They're going to be there to be judicial activists, to stand in the way of progress and unburdening the American people of their corruption and money laundering of our tax dollars.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he said the quiet part out loud, and they were. You got to remember, our Republicans in the House and the Senate, well, mainly the House, were allowing, or the Senate, I should say, were allowing the Biden administration to push through these judges in the final, weeks, even leading up to Trump being appointed. They appointed hundreds from between the election and inauguration day, while a lot of us conservatives were screaming, it's like, why are you guys allowing this to happen? I mean, look at how long it took to get some of these Trump appointments confirmed, like Kash Patel, for instance, because of all these procedural hurdles that the Democrats were making Republicans go through, which is part of the process. That's fine. It is what it is. But we had those same opportunities to do the same thing between November and President Trump swearing in January when it comes to all these other judges. And our Republicans just rolled over, set back, and just let them shove all of the, appoint hundreds of judges in that 2-month period where they should have been fighting, throwing every roadblock, filibustering, whatever, to where instead of hundreds of judges, it was dozens of judges that they got appointed, and they did not do that. And then I know we're almost out of time, but do you think that there is any chance that Trump gets to appoint another Supreme Court justice before the end of this term coming up?
I think there's a pretty good chance that he'll get at least one appointment, maybe more. He may have to replace a couple of the conservative judges, because I know that they've wanted to retire for the last few years. They don't want to die on the bench like many others have. They'd like to have some time with their family and their grandkids. But I also know that I just blanked on her name. Sotomayor, she's in poor health, and a lot of leftists have kind of speculated, and some of them were even hoping that she would step down so Biden could appoint somebody in her place, but that didn't happen, didn't act. And then the last 6 months of his term, they were afraid for her to do it, because if Trump won, then they could technically, McConnell could activate again, do something conservative, block Biden from making the appointment, and then allow Trump to appoint the judge. Because again, I'm not exactly a fan of Cocaine Mitch, but it is the one thing he was at least decent on, was putting in some judges and going through the procedural process to help Trump get some real conservatives, especially on the lower courts. I know we've been disappointed with a lot of the Supreme Court justices, but even then they looked good on paper. We were all cheering them along, but that's future opportunities there. Doge staffer breaks silence on IRS disaster. 30 years behind schedule, $15 billion over budget, and they're just digging into this.
Yeah, well, the only answer here is a simple answer: abolish the IRS. Period.
Agreed.
Simple. End of discussion. I do think that is President Trump's goal and his plan to do so. Just listening to Howard Lutnick and Scott Bessent, I believe that is their long-term plan. Obviously, you can't just come in overnight and do that. There's processes and steps to take in place, and I think that's why they're pushing the tariffs. I think that's a lot of what they're doing, I believe, is moving towards the end goal of eliminating the federal income tax, or at least partially. I know that it even said that at the very least they should be able to eliminate it for people who make under $150,000 a year. Like right now, it's under $12,000. So your first $12,000, or maybe it's 14 now. It used to be 12. Maybe it went up a little bit. Like anyway, somewhere in that range. The first $12,000 or whatever dollars you make every year is tax free, and if you make less than that, you don't have to file taxes. Well, they're wanting to bump that up to 150,000, and I would assume that's married filing jointly would be 300. I don't know, but that would be absolutely life changing for so many people across our country. To somebody's making $70,000-$80,000 a year and hasn't really had a pay raise since all the or a significant one since all the increase of under COVID, with all the COVID spending, inflation went through the roof. That would be life changing for those people, to give them a big portion of that money back and the way that they deserve to have it, and there'll be a big boost to the economy. So I'm hoping that we can get there.
Yeah, and I think we will, and I think it is going to have to be gradual steps to eliminate the IRS, because they're as all these things come into place, we are going to need time to readjust funding, reallocate things. Just to be realistic, doing it overnight would be a complete shock to the system, would throw a lot of things in upheaval. I think it would be good for all of us, making $150,000 or less, but it could actually create some problems. So we do need a coherent plan to get there. But I was just trying to remember this guy's name. I listened to this a few days ago, but he was not an analyst I was familiar with. He brought up a really good point, though, of doing this over a few years by, initially move it up to 150,000 and then eliminate it at some point, but also our federal government, then we were supported by a combination of tariffs and maybe a slight, like a 2 to 3% sales tax on durable good items, non-food, non-medical, new purchases across the country. And again, I think that would be fair. That would mean you're also rewarded if you are going to go buy a used car or something like that instead of buying or even a house. So a house that's already been lived in, that there won't be a sales tax on it. So encourage people to not just waste new materials. But again, it seemed like a good idea all the way around. I got two other stories I just want to cram in here real fast because we are out of time. They're both for Doge. So first we have this. USAID censorship scheme exposed. Global Engagement Center worked with UK government and media firms to deploy AI tools to monitor and eliminate free speech. I think we all knew this was going on, but it isn't just there that Doge saved us. Where's it at? Here we go. Sorry, I was adjusting my screen. Doge got the big one. USDA was funding $397,000 grant to educate queer, trans, and BIPOC urban farmers. So another $400K saved, going to idiotic leftist causes that help no one. Or no one's saying.
Thank God for Doge. That's all I'm going to say right now. Thank you guys, man. You guys have been great. We really appreciate you guys sticking with us through everything, making this show possible. I hope you guys have an awesome, blessed weekend, and like, share, subscribe, all those good things, as we always say.
Thanks again, guys. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll be back on Monday. Please like, share, and subscribe so we can bring more people the news, the mainstream media